started. I hope all of you have had time to meet Rose, our new coordinator that we'll be working with for a while anyway.
Not a career, huh, Rose?
She's allowed to move up. We hope she's here anyway. She's easy to get along with. Thank y'all for coming out on a difficult day. Appreciate you being here. Hope you all had a good day. We'll go around the table and introduce ourselves first. We can start with Morris, I guess, and work our way. Or we'll let Rose start, and then we'll go to Morris.
Okay, I'm Rose Bogus. I'm the new RPO coordinator. I've been here almost 3 months now, and I'm learning a lot and looking forward to working with all y'all.
Morris Moody, Mayor of Silver.
Andy Perlmutter, council member at Forest Hill.
Harry Vaughn, Mayor of beautiful downtown Hayesville.
I'm Randy Nick, County Commission.
Ryan McMahon, Chairman of Jackson County Board of Commissioners.
Joel Setzel, NCDOT Division 14. I'm here on behalf of Ed Green, our division engineer, who couldn't be with us because his wife has had a hip replacement, emergency.
Keith Zeller, Bradley County Sheriff.
Steve McKinnon, Cherokee
Ronnie Bill. No, I'm not Ronnie Bill. I'm Jackie Adams.
Roger Carlton from Whiteshell Hill.
Jackie Irish, Casper Brother.
Patrick Taylor, Mayor of Highlands.
Earl James Smallwood from the city of Franklin. I'm sitting in for Bob Scott, Mayor, but we'll be here later.
Tom Sutton, Mayor of Bryson City.
And I'm Mike Fitzgerald. I'm the mayor of Dillsboro, North Carolina, downtown and outskirts.
We have another mayor, another county manager over here on the side.
Introduce yourself to everyone.
Steve Hoover, Mayor, Town of Robbinsville.
Greg Cable, Manager of Graham County.
Thank you, gentlemen. Glad you're here. We've done our quorum check, and we do have a quorum. Wait, Brian, you don't want to be introduced? I think everyone knows you.
And we also have our friends with the press here, Bobby, right, with
Making Media.
Making Media.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen. While she's looking for this thing to me, you remember last year we had several people when it's time to do this ethical training that we do as elected officials. It's important. I think now the state is going to fine you if you don't do it in a timely manner. After they warn you, there was, I think it was the mayor of Waxhaw or someone in Waxhaw was actually removed from office for failure to fill out those papers. Your statement of economic interest and the real estate disclosure and your basic ethics training. And so, as always, in accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it's the duty of every Transportation Advisory Committee member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any Transportation Advisory Committee member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If not, if so, you could identify if you ever have a conflict, just say, that pertains to me, so I'll refrain from voting. We'd like to know that.
And
also,
excuse me, they don't go on the states like July 1st to June 30th. You have to go soon.
Yeah, generally they notify you through email. They contact you about making sure that these things are done, and if they don't, they will contact Rose, also who will contact me, and she will contact you, and I will contact you. Just formalities that we have to do, but it's good that we're all on the up and up.
He's jumping ahead of the agenda. I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. I just threw that in for free. We will, now I need a motion to approve the agenda that's printed before you.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion about the agenda? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we will review the
Ronnie, you got any extra agendas?
See if I got there too. No, I ain't. There's no one.
Here's one, Jack.
It's not, we don't have a hard agenda tonight. It's more of a good friend meeting. But Something we haven't talked about before, Rose will take over now and talk about the TAC member terms and alternates.
Yes, I was just looking at the bylaws, and so the TAC terms are for 2 years, and I couldn't find a record of when people were appointed to the TAC or when your terms were up. So I don't know if every jurisdiction does that formally or not. Some of them seem to, others may not. So that's just a housekeeping item that I want to try to get track of, because I have to report that to office too when your terms are expired. So I sent out an email covering this, if anyone knows. I know some of the newer, we've got a few brand new members, so I know when y'all joined, but if y'all have a record of when you were appointed or when your term is up, you get that to me. And that's really all on that. The other thing that we had talked about was if the TAC would like to have a vice chair in case Chairman Fitzgerald can't be here at any meetings. Some of the RPO boards do have a vice chair, and if people think that's a good idea, we could take nominations.
Raleigh did ask her who the vice chair of our group was, and it does make sense. Most of you have someone behind you in case something, you never know. I have a handicapped son myself. Every once in a while something happens, and I can't make it to a meeting somewhere. It's not happened but twice in 11 years, but it has happened. So it's up to you guys. If you want to, I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll open the floor for nominations for vice chair, and if nobody nominates, we'll just close the discussion.
If anybody wants to do it, I'll nominate them.
I assume he's one of the voting members, right? Of the board.
Yes, sir.
Since we have a town, a municipality that's chair, it makes sense to have somebody from the county, so Brian, would you do that?
It would be better if it's somebody from other than Jackson.
Oh, that's right, that's in Jackson County. Pretty big.
I hear it yesterday. He was a good man too. I'll nominate Steve McKenna.
Second, moving on nomination seats.
Say aye.
Aye.
You be here.
That's happened. That's all you know. Don't ever miss a meeting. You're like to end up on committees you never heard
Hey, the
of.
same.
All right.
You want to raise?
Rose will review the meetings for us now for the coming year.
On the second page of your agenda packet, there is a proposed list of 4 meetings for the TAC, the RPO board. That's the first set there. January, March, September, and November coincide with the Southwestern Commission board meetings. Possible that November one wouldn't be needed if we don't have any business, but we kind of meet quarterly. Sometimes it's 3 to 4 times a year, thereabouts. And I have a correction actually on the TCC meeting. They did not meet today. They did not have any business to cover for a January meeting. So we're going to strike that January meeting and probably meet on the May 19th Southwestern Commission board meeting.
Can you take a minute and explain the difference between the TAC and the
Sure.
TCC?
So the Transportation Advisory Committee, the RPO has 2 committees, the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I did not come up with these names, I promise you. But that is basically the governing board of the RPO, and it's comprised of elected officials. So from each county has a representative, so a commissioner, and then each town within the county, a mayor or council person would serve on that board. The TCC is a technical coordinating committee. For whatever reason, that's what they're called, and they are made up of staff members, like county managers or planners or town managers, planners, employees of the jurisdiction.
Do you have a list of those people that's currently serving in that role?
I do. Would you like that?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I've been doing is actually trying to clean up these lists and figure out exactly who. I have a lot of lists, so I was just trying to get one that's current. So I do have that now. That means
Are the terms the same?
the terms are the same.
Tell me those one more time, Rose.
Well, you mean the terms of serving on those
Serve.
committees?
You have to roll off.
2-year terms, and you do not have to roll off. You can be reappointed as many, the bylaws don't specify, there's no term limits, but it's just a matter of it coming back up in case anybody else from your jurisdiction wants to serve, that kind of thing. That's what the bylaws were written.
So there's no hard 2 years you roll off for 2 years?
No, you can be reappointed, it's just a 2-year term to keep it open, I guess.
Never can leave.
And, you know, I have, I've learned that some RPOs actually choose not to use these terms internally. I'd still have to call it that when I talk to Riley. But they are, there has caused some confusion. You're not the first person to ask what's the difference between CAC and TCC. So Joel, the French Broadband, they call themselves the RPO board. They don't have to deal with that.
MPO board.
Or the MPO board. So y'all are kind of the ones that vote on the activities of the RPO, and the staff level people don't vote on those kind of things. They more work on the prioritization and kind of the work sessions. So at some point in time, if y'all wanted to adopt a different name to use locally, that would be your option.
What's the NPO stand for?
RPO is Rural Planning Organization. MPO is Metropolitan Planning Organization. Those were set up first. The DOT put together these MPOs around all the urban areas, and then a few years later they said, well, we really need rural planning organizations too.
Not the TCC, do they not preview what it is we're going to talk about in our meeting in the evening? They meet before we do, and there's a recommendation brought to us from our TCC.
Right.
For our action, actually. They hash it out so we don't have to sit here and do it in the evenings a lot of times.
They go through kind of the gory details and then bring y'all a recommendation.
Do you supply these members with the same information? I know you make a recommendation, but do you supply the members with the same information as y'all, as you as a TCC talked about? Do we have that same information?
It's pretty, yeah, they're usually on the same day, a few hours apart. Mayor Scott's joined us, welcome.
Oh, thank you. The second time I've joined you.
So yes, they are the same content. Joel, do you have any?
No, I think in essence it's the same, and, you know, they're going to be more detailed, just like Mr. Fitzgerald said. They're going to try to save you some of the painful details, and you'll have an official staff recommendation, but the board or the TAC does have the final authority. You're the decision makers, but you've got a staff that gives you a recommendation.
What was our percentage of approval? Was it 10% the rate that we carried with DOT and RPO? Do you remember?
In the regional funding category, it would have been 15% of the total project score, and the division needs category, it would have been 25% of the score. And when we sat down with the division and the RPO and had those local meetings and aligned those points, everyone we did that on got into TIP. So it's a pretty significant thing at that division level.
Questions, comments? We have a couple of action items. First, we need to approve the minutes from May the 20th, 2014, which goes back a ways, and August 21st, 2014. And I don't know if you might have approved these and what listed on for May, but that goes back quite a ways.
I think August was a kind of special meeting that was called, so y'all probably didn't get around to approving the May minutes at that time.
Motion to approve all the minutes as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir. Second?
Second.
Any discussion about the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. And the amendments to the 2014-15 planning work program, do you have those?
Well, actually, I should have brought this up when I was on the agenda. So what I have, there have been the planning work program, and I should just go over this a second for the new members. That's the work plan for the RPO that y'all as the board approve and vote on the activities of basically what the RPO is gonna do, how y'all want us to spend the resources on what projects and activities. Since I came on, I was looking at it and a few little things have changed. We have the option we report on it every quarter, and we have the option to make amendments every quarter. And there were some changes, and I thought that we might need to make amendments, but then I figured out that if it's less than $2,500 per category item, it does not require a formal amendment on by the RPO. So that would make our action item list for tonight very short and complete, and we can move on into the informational items. So that was my mistake. I didn't actually need that vote now.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we'll move right on to the State Ethics Commission. I know you're on dying to hear about it.
Okay,
Rose?
this is an exciting topic. I know you're all looking forward to the 2015 filings, and I'll be working with all of y'all if you want me to individually to go through this in more detail. But the filing period is open for 2015, and it covers your status as of December 31st, 2014. So if you bought a piece of property yesterday, don't worry about it until next year. I know some of you didn't file for 2014 until later on in the year, and you may feel like you've just done it, but we still have to do it again for this year. And they've tried to simplify it a little bit. They've combined the real estate disclosures and the statement of economic interest into one filing, so you won't have to keep track of whether you did one and not the other. The filing deadline is April 15th, so we're going to start nagging y'all pretty hard over the next month, because I want to make sure everybody has it submitted in time for them to review it and make sure there's no mistakes well before that deadline. So, CD?
This is my first voting meeting. I just filed that. I just got that done.
Did you really?
Yes.
For 2014?
Yeah, but this is the first voting meeting.
Congratulations.
Each year, and once you do the first one, generally the following ones that you do, generally you just click on no changes or.
That's right. If you,
But you gotta send it in. I found that out last year. You gotta send it in.
for 2015, if you filed last year electronically, they have a short form, they call it. For
Would let you file electronic.
It wasn't for
No,
2014?
no, it wouldn't work. I had to mail it in.
It was a very frustrating process.
Very.
And then, towards the end, it was the day of the meeting, I had to call over and talk to the lady in charge of this for the whole state. And the one that reported to her said there were 700 of these sitting around in the drawer that they were just doing when they had time. I don't know if anybody else heard that. But it's a very frustrating process. So are you going to send us the forms or expect us to do it electronically, or what's the?
Well, what I would suggest is that if you at all possible can file electronically this year. I think for the 2015, they say that the forms are working. And
You can print the forms out. You can go find and print your form.
But
It will not let you, it won't file.
Is that your first time, I don't see, is that the first time you did one? Now, the short form is usually fairly easy after you do it the first time.
it should be. So since I
It's
wasn't.
Ryan's case, I mean, Ryan's file would be the hardest.
Aren't we then supposed to get some kind of letter from the state ethics
And then you
committee?
get a letter that's saying that.
That was the hard part.
That it's approved, right? Okay.
Never received that yet.
So you haven't received your letter yet? Okay. Well, it's time to do it again for 2015. Hopefully they have the process a little better worked out for this year. But I know this is a little bit of a burden. There are reasons behind it, believe it or not. There actually have been cases where there were questions since y'all are working on these projects. They want to make sure that you're not doing something to or even appear that there would be. And it's a little, to some extent, it's for your protection. So someone can't accuse you of having an interest in it because you've already been cleared. And if there is a conflict of interest, it doesn't mean you have to serve on the board. You can just abstain from that vote. So I want to make it as easy on y'all as possible. I know it's a burden, and I will come to your location, or you can come to my office if you want to sit down and do it together. I'm happy to do that with any of you, and we'll try to make it as painless as possible.
Can you send us all the link?
Yes, yes. If you wanna just do it on your own, I can send you the link. If you've done it before, that's fine. Again, they've combined the statement of economic interest and real estate disclosure into one package now, so you can do them both together.
The ethics training, isn't that the one you have to get on the computer and watch page, and answer the question after about 3 pages, and then go through the whole thing?
And-
The first one.
You know, I don't know what the elected officials, the other ethics training ought to do, but just for the TAC, you don't have to take the training for
New commissioners,
But for.
it's a class. It ain't you don't do it online. You have to go to class.
That's right.
Well, that'll be part of the training.
On the 11th and 12th, you'll get to see all you got over here. And then,
So you may have to do that for your office, but not for the RPO.
You're going to find that ethics training just about every board you serve on. I think you'll find that there's always a statement read whenever you're at a meeting with whatever it is about the ethics nowadays.
Every board has a different ethics training. I mean, the agency board in Jackson County as well as the town board, and you have 2 different ethics classes that you have to do.
Is everybody feeling really ethical? Ready to?
Any other questions or statements? If not, we'll move on to the Federal Lands Access Program.
Okay, this is a program from FHWA that is sort of a pot of money that is to be used to help increase access to federal lands, national forests, national park, TVA, defense, Department of Defense properties, and it's sort of it has to go through whoever is responsible for owning or maintaining the facility. So it's usually DOT. Occasionally it's the county. The county has maintenance rights, but there's a call for projects. And so this is just kind of a note to think about. If you have an area, since we have so many federal lands in our region, if you can think of something in your county or in your town that you think might qualify as a project, then let us know, and we can talk about it with the DOT and see if we could put together an application for it. These are kind of competing against the whole southeast for this project. And last year, North Carolina got quite a few, and we got good handfuls in our region. So this is just to think about if you have anything within like a bridge or a road or a bike path or something that would increase access to near a national forest or near any kind of federal land, then this could be an additional source of funds to get those projects done that might not ordinarily work through the regular prioritization process.
Or a helipad.
Or a helipad.
Swanee Grants.
North Carolina was the star state last year. They were so proud of that helipad because it was a little bit out of the box, and they really liked that. So this is just sort of a note to be thinking of that and to let Joel or I know if you can think of anything.
So this is to basically provide help in getting access to from
Right. So something like adjacent to, or I haven't heard an exact number because I asked the question. Well, in theory, everything is getting access. I need to go to.
So it doesn't have to be.
But within maybe a mile or so, especially ones near a recreational area would be probably more competitive. So if you've got forest lands, campgrounds, anything that
Existing campground need improvements to qualify?
So, and the project would have to be on not on the federal lands. It has to be on the DOT facility leading to it. So the actual within the park doesn't qualify. It has to be.
So it's like DOT access.
Right. It's almost all DOT. There are a few places where it's a county has the maintenance rights.
Is there a dollar limit on that? What's the money like?
Let's see. I don't think there's a limit. They do say that there is that if it's a project that you can kind of split up or maybe stage it into, you know, a few different sections that they, if they can't fund all of it, that they can fund part of it, that can make it more competitive. You can send in pictures, to help kind of sell it. So if you have any ideas, we could take a look at it and, the division offices and those people could.
Is there a dollar limit on these projects?
Not that I know of.
Trails going through Temple Park, to the park road, go across, I think, possibly. Temple Park's owned by the town.
If they access destinations on that federal land up there, I believe that.
Access to federal.
It would be federal forest land would qualify?
Okay, what about, like at the end of the road where it touches the forest, people with horses that pull horse trailers, the access to turn around at the end of the road, because a lot of times where it touches the national forest, very difficult. Would that be considered, is that?
To improve the parking lot for the horse trail?
Well, the turnaround, not the parking lot so much, just, well, I guess it would park there too, but just the turnaround area.
Make it easier to maneuver, where they're loading and unloading. Don't know. Possibly, I mean, we got some people, if you got one like that, we got some people in Raleigh, we can check, get an answer within a couple hours, whether that would be qualified.
I'm just wondering, because that's, a lot of us, our counties all touch federal land somewhere.
There's transportation for recreation, transportation for needs to go to the recreation. And they're looking at things that improve, the destinations, the links to the access to the destination. Even though the destination could be recreation, but just like with your example, if you ride around a loop, you don't get anywhere. It's a pure recreation. Those don't go. It's got to be, the road may be up to the point where the recreation activities start. That makes sense.
So if you have any ideas, even if you aren't sure if it would qualify, let us know and we can find out for sure. And if we'd love to have some, submit some projects from this area if we have any that would work.
I can tell by the interest of questions, you're gonna have something from all of us.
Right.
Anything else about the access before we move on?
And I'll email y'all more information on that too, so that you'll have a sheet on it and a reminder about it.
State Transportation Improvement Program, Joel.
Okay. The draft STIP was, I'll call it STIP, was released December 4th to the Board of Transportation, or by the Board of Transportation to the general public. And of course, this was the culmination of all this ranking process we've gone through the prior 8 months or so. We did have meetings in each county with a lot of y'all in this room about where to put those points. So the statewide rankings came out shortly after those meetings, and then the actual programming using the dollar amounts and trying to, go down those priority lists as far as they could. That was published. And, we did pretty well where we got together and collaborated on those division points and the RPO points. Everything we put points on got in at some point. So I told a group of people earlier today, that's the first prize of your work, is getting it into the STIP. And I'll go over the projects that made it here in my county here in a minute. The next prize is going to be in the delivery part of the STIP. And the STIP's a 10-year document. And the first 5 years is the delivery part of that document. But once you get into that part of it, you don't have to go through this ranking process. every 2 years. But if you're in years 6 through 10 of the STIP, your project has to be rerun every 2 years. So what you want to do is see your projects move up into that first 6 years. If they don't get there this time, then the work occurs so that the next time they get up. So getting in the STIP and staying in the STIP are two different things. So you may have to wind up putting the points on that same project next time you put in there until it eventually gets in that deliverable part. So I'll go over the projects that made it county by county. Cherokee County, the 1964, 74, 129 section from where you turn right up into Murphy out to the end of the divided, that old section there, Hamburger Avenue.
That's where we moved the RPO points on that.
That did get in, right away fiscal year 18 and construction fiscal year 20. And then that sidewalk project along Bulldog Drive also got in, the right away in fiscal year 23 and construction fiscal year 24. In Clay County, NC 69, the L11 project got right of way in fiscal year 20, construction in fiscal year 22. The NC 175 project from the High Bridge down to Georgia got right of way in fiscal year 19 and construction in fiscal year 20.
Quick question, since the first one you mentioned is scheduled right away 2020, that's within the 5-year that you just said that we don't have to reallocate points?
I think so.
Okay.
There's still the decision about what gets locked in is really, I guess, really made by the General Assembly, but there's a work group that makes a recommendation to them, and their recommendation is if your right-of-way is in fiscal year 2020 or earlier, then it would not go through the ranking process. So that's the recommendation, and whether the General Assembly says, yeah, that's how you will apply the process is yet to be seen, but that's what we think at this point in time.
So the right-of-way year, Joel, is, explain that too. What is the right-of-way year? I mean, that's when you secure all the right-of-ways and ready to go. And
that's the year that we begin the right-of-way acquisition process, and it's financed for us to go out and start buying properties. So it's not the end of it; it's the beginning of it. A lot of these in the right-of-way, you'll notice that the right-of-way construction date are 2 years apart because that right-of-way process a lot of times is an 18 to 24 month process.
so make sure I understand. So, like the construction of the section mixing the sidewalks, Macon County. I know you'll get to Macon County, but if you don't have a ROW year and it's 2023, are we going to have to apply points to that again?
Yes.
And the other 48 things we had listed also. Gotcha.
In other words, this is just funded, this is just what they're saying they're gonna do it, the year they're gonna do it in?
I don't have that list.
So the sheet that I just passed out has everything that was in the spot process, and the ones at the very top in bold and with the red, with the one that's got a red number in amount programmed are the ones that made it into the program for funding with that amount, and then those are the right-of-way years and construction years to the red and right. Everything else below that are all the rest of the scores for the spot projects, but that did not get funded this time.
I'm looking at 934, which is the first one. And this is construction year slated for 2020. Is that the way I understand that?
Was that
Yeah, that's Burger Alley.
Yeah. Construction 2020 and right away.
Yeah, it's only 5 years. I have a casino opening next year. So. Traffic won't be any problem between now and then, we won't worry about it.
That's when they'll be a lot interested.
They'll figure out how to get it.
Yeah, it'll be all right. We got a hospital, a lot in.
You see, that's why we're electing young people, so they have a longevity.
Sonny, will you help push this through?
Like their problem.
We gotta have a little fun.
Got down to Graham County, and what was, program there was part of the 4K, the B and C section. They programmed it for right-of-way in fiscal year '24, and construction in fiscal year '25 and post years. And then in Graham County, the new access to the high school was programmed for right-of-way in fiscal year '19, and construction in fiscal year '21. In Jackson County, US 19, which was more in Haywood County, and it really got its point because of the Haywood County people put the point on it. From Firetop to Jenkins Creek, right away in fiscal year '23, construction in fiscal year '25. 107 from Coke Creek to Council Circle and out 23 business, right away in fiscal year '19, and construction in fiscal year '21. 107 from NC 116 to 23 business has that same schedule. And those two projects, I can't imagine why our program development people won't combine those into one project. I hope they do. It seems logical. And then the NC 107 Dakota out to NC 281 right away in fiscal year '15, construction in fiscal year '17. In Macon County, US 23 fiscal year '1, the Georgia Road from 64 out to Wide Horizon right away in fiscal year '19, construction in fiscal year '21. US 441 business at Walnut Street, Maple Street, Porter Street, Depot Street, those intersection fixes right away. Project you mentioned along Depot Street, filling in the missing section of sidewalks, construction in fiscal year '23, and I think the reason we didn't show a right away date was we believe we've already got that right on that. And then in Swain County, the sidewalk from Rising City up to the high school, right away in fiscal year '22, and construction in fiscal year '23. And in Cherokee in Swain County, along Swanee Road from US 441 behind that multi-use path that they're building is under construction in 2024, and it didn't list the right-of-way date. And I'm thinking that's got to be in there because I can't imagine that there's a dedicated right-of-way along that all those store frontage. But anyway, that's kind of what made it. Overall, we fared well. If you look at it, we didn't do well in that statewide category. Out here, we got none. In the regional category, out of that regional pot, there was the project in Macon County, in Franklin, for the intersections, that got in. And the 107 projects in downtown Silver, they got in. And our region competed with places like Asheville, Hendersonville. We did pretty good. Division 14 compared to Division 13 got 45% of that regional pot. So we were fairly competitive there. Where we kind of lost out was on that statewide pot of money. And then on the division needs pot of money, we had a pretty good distribution of projects. Most counties got at least 2 projects. Jackson County did better, I think it was 4 or 5 total. Henderson County did the best in Division 14. It had a total of 6 projects. So, you know, their population around 120,000, something like that. So the thing was set up to chase the population, chase the numbers, meet the greatest need. But it was, and there was a lot of fear, you know, about the smaller counties and lower population areas not getting anything. Well, we We worked with the foremen, worked together, and that didn't happen. So I think all in all, it achieved the goals of the new law, put the money where it's needed to work, but it also maintained some balance. So I thought all in all, it came out fairly well.
How much, Joel, do you think the total monies, I mean, if you look at our region and compare it to Henderson, and I looked at those two, I mean, the total money for theirs eclipses everything we got.
Yeah, they got
So-
one project in that division needs category, a new road, which we wanted to do it in the regional category, but the law won't let us, but it was like $151 million.
Why is not that, how in the world could you compete with that in the regional? That should be, I mean, that needs,
That came up in the division, that's what I'm saying, that's where it really hurt the.
but one of the reasons we were successful, do you think, Joel, because I think Cherokee County probably had, in our region, in our section of the world, 11 million. Was that the most expensive project that was approved?
I don't know.
I believe it was.
Well, there was one other, which was $168,000 project, which was a sidewalk.
But really and truly, it's a little bit better than we thought we'd do.
Yeah, of course, no, the most expensive thing in here is quarter cut.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna happen.
Not based on the STIP as it's stated. I mean, it's with the right-of-way acquisition and
I think
construction.
they put 270 million program, well, no, it was less than that, 220 million, I believe, is what that program.
Yeah, but I think that given the dates for right-of-way and construction, I mean, it's not really.
It's another day that's coming past, and here's what, I'd like somebody, we had to meet, we had to have this big meeting last year and have this big, what was it, the survey and all that stuff, and do all this stuff. And we got sort of lost in the shuffle with our man leaving us, the redheaded mower guy, and we need to be updated on what happened on the survey and everything. I know you read it and you still don't
Are you
understand.
talking about the grand?
I'm talking about the quarter K. Is we had they put $1 million study out,
That's the
wasn't it, Joel?
opt-in study.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's complete, and that opt-in study, it did confirm the need for this quarter to be finished. So, I mean, it's.
So that's all settled and it's just
Yeah.
waiting on the list for money?
Yeah, that's,
I don't think that study, my understanding is in no way so. I mean,
That's what I think too.
the current draft of the transportation plan for Graham County is still in fact in draft form, you know, waiting for approvals from North Carolina DOT and in fact needing to be presented in a form that I can present to the Board of County Commissioners of Graham County to adopt. And it's not there yet. I can tell you for sure.
That's where I was going with all this.
No, it's not. Now, how that alters the long-term dates of, you know, where this project fits into the STIP, if it does at all, I don't know. But, you know, I think that there were some that were under the impression that once the consultants wrapped up, you know, their version of the draft and North Carolina DOT out of Raleigh has their say in it, that, you know, Graham County is ready to pass this document, you know, at that whim. And I would say it's going to be finally reviewed. And if it's not right.
My point in pointing that out, that was some of the biggest confusion about this opt-in study.
Yeah.
It was a study, and then as a side note, we got a transportation plan and two county comprehensive plans out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a real confusing thing. But the primary opt-in study as a regional plan is finished. And the board, the Southwest Commission Board, agreed to move forward with that plan, which that plan includes the need for this road. That's totally separate from the two comprehensive plans and the transportation plan for Graham County,
Right.
which the two comprehensive plans hadn't been adopted. for those individual counties, which we are one of them. And the transportation plans for Graham County hadn't been adopted, and that's what you're referring to.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Could we have a motion today, I offered, to request DOT to give us a status report on where they are in their review? Would that be appropriate?
Their review of quarter K.
No, for their review of the opt-in study. As I understand it, they asked 370 questions or something about that study, and that it just sits in DOT and has for 6 months now.
Well, no, my understanding is that, DOT has finished a review. It was presented to DOT in June of last year, in 2014. They submitted comments back to the consultants to provide a secondary draft or an updated draft, and that the consultants are updating the document to be presented based on the recommendations that came from the planning division in Raleigh with North Carolina DOT. Now, there are some preliminary documentation that's coming out from what's been done from the secondary draft for the Graham County CTP, but I don't think that there's anything official that's been released yet. I'm not sure if that's something that is being held up by North Carolina DOT, or if that's something that's still a work in progress by the consultants themselves.
The question is, you want to know where corridor K stands with in Graham County with the DOT?
Just corridor K.
You just want to know what's going on with corridor K in general?
Well, I thought, I could be wrong, that the requirement for K to become a reality was that this opt-in study had to be done. And the DOT funded that for somewhere north of $1 million. And everybody around this room probably participated in those meetings, and it was a tremendous amount of work. And then I remember coming to a board meeting here where there was quite a bit of last-minute discussion about the wordage on corridor K, and it finally all got worked out, and the board adopted it. That was months and months ago. So it would seem to me with $1 million investment in a study that it's pretty important that it get finished, brought to the county commission, and I think in Cherokee as well, needed to be brought.
Well, the comprehensive plan is the only thing that's lacking
So
through this study.
I'm less concerned right now with corridor K because it's 2024 is recognized, but it worries me that without this study finished and adopted by the county commissions, that it becomes an excuse not to do corridor K. That's what worries me.
Let's, Ryan's not in the room.
Right.
Ryan,
Yeah.
I think
Ryan's
that
the
would be
go-to man,
Yeah.
and Ryan can inform either us or can inform Rose, who will get the information to us as a group.
I would hope tonight, and forgive me for being a little
If
pushy.
you look at the minutes, if you go back and look at our minutes, if we can figure out how to read what date this minutes was, on page 2, more presented the regional impact division needs this project recommended to receive local points in RPO. Remember this long discussion we had about if we didn't maybe about the funding?
Yeah.
That's what our concern was. And I think we did the right thing in what we did. But I think it was a lot of our understanding that that at that time, I know there was a little bit of dissension on the go back. We were worried about losing the funding. Take somebody reaching out and get the money. That was what we were worried about. Now, at that time, I thought that we understood that, Jordan, you can find out, but we thought that the study, that the state had that and had already, the consultants and all that was already finished, and the report from the state was pending. Is that not right?
Well, there have been a lot of studies, and I don't want to get to different studies, but the project studies for B and C had gone to a certain point in time and then got put on hold. for another certain period of time, for about 4 years, to go through several processes, including opt-in. And the whole thing, one of the underlying causes and reason the transportation agencies gave money was they needed a vision from the region to justify the product and moving forward on the product. So the opt-in work is in essence complete, but the things it was supposed to deliver, the transportation plans for Graham County and the two land use plans for Graham County and Cherokee County, those have not been adopted and they're lingering out there.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to make known is the adoption of these comprehensive plans, not transportation plans.
Right.
These comprehensive plans should in no way affect the funding for Corridor K.
Amen.
Now, I assure you that I have great concern about these plans. This plan will be, it's our plan. We have been contacted, and they're going to wrap that up. That plan, they're waiting to come before our board to present that plan to us. And once we take that plan, at that point, then we'll take that plan, we'll work on it, we'll digest it, and we'll decide which parts we want to adopt, which parts we want to can. Do we want to put the whole thing on the shelf or do nothing with it? But in no way should that affect, regardless what we do with that plan. I'm adamant about in no way should that affect the opt-in study. These comprehensive plans and the transportation plan was a side plan at the same time this regional plan was done. And this regional plan clearly shows the economic benefits and the economic development needs, among other things, for this road. So I just want to make that clear. Adoption of our comprehensive plan, not transportation plan,
Right.
should have nothing to do with the Region A or the regional comprehensive plan, which was already adopted and is moving forward through the Southwest Commission, which that plan clearly showed the need for the road, which Southwest is already, we as an association are already moving forward with the plans to help that road, right? We've said we're going to do that as an association, and we're doing that. So I just want to make that clear.
I think that the important thing to remember is in all of this, with Graham County's transportation plan, that document is not ultimately going to be finished until it becomes a document that can be adopted by the Graham County Board of Commissioners. So even though this thing comes from the consultants and it comes down from DOT, there still has to be another level of understanding, with North Carolina DOT working together with this document so that it embodies everything that we've heard from our community, and at that point it needs to be presented and and voted on, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not a as we saw in other cases where, well, honestly, in the first draft, where it was put out there and it really did not reflect so much of what we felt was stated in the community. So this document has got to state the need, as we have felt in our community, and has been well documented for the highway, and so that we can keep and maintain the use of those Appalachian Development Highway System funds, and we don't lose those funds. That's the main thing that we don't want.
I'm confused,
We took a vote, if you recall, we voted to keep the Corridor K on our list simply to keep from losing the $200 and some odd million. I don't have the minutes here, but
that's about all we did.
But what confuses me is
that kept it alive on our part.
Yes, and that's what we want to do. We want to do everything that we can to protect that pot of money so that it is not dispersed elsewhere in the state.
So is that pot of money, Joe, going all the way back to where we started this conversation? That 270-something million that you mentioned with the big money, is that the trust fund money?
That's the Appalachian Development Highway System money comes from the federal government, has to be spent on Appalachian Corridor. That's programmed, part of it's programmed on A9, 229 million is programmed on A9, and the rest of it's programmed on A11, NC 69 program.
So is that the ARC?
Well, yeah, that's.
That's the pot of money that we've always tried to look at.
Mr. Sherby, since you're back in the room, there's been some questions about the progress of Corridor K, where it stands, Graham County, Cherokee County, the funding and where it's at right now. Is that something you can find out from the RPO?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. And you get it to Rose, who will get it to us?
Could I try one more time?
Sure.
I don't know whether DOT is going to require this land use element that was part of it for the two counties to be adopted or not in order to ensure that the funding remains in place. And I know you said very vehemently you didn't want that, but I don't know what DOT.
We've not looked at it yet, so I mean, it's still not officially been
The
presented.
answer to your question from DOT is, I don't know the whole answer, but if and I'm assuming that knowing what's in the plan. But if those plans are adopted and it says as a policy for our county, we want no new roads, then that would probably have an effect on Corridor K. But if it's basic land use type planning, I don't think it would really have an effect on the Corridor K, a negative effect. But if it said, we don't want any new roads, and at the end of your preface in your plan, yeah, I think that would have an impact. But I don't know what's in your plan.
It won't say that, and my argument is regardless of what the plan says, other than if we were foolish enough to adopt something that says we don't want any more roads in Cherokee County, which I assure you won't happen, regardless of that, I say our comprehensive plan is totally, the reason for the study was a regional plan, along with, this road was the reason for the regional plan study here.
And Randy, there'll be a test on this after we get done, so you.
Unfortunately, we have a time constraint, and it is my impression is we don't have the information available to answer the questions that everybody has. But I'm sure that Rose and Ryan are going to dig into it. Now, if they come back with some information that is concerning to the members here, I'm sure that you have the ability to call a special meeting if it seems pertinent and waiting to the next quarter, correct?
Sure.
So let's leave it in Rose and Ryan's hand here to get information to us that hopefully will answer some of these questions. If they're not satisfactory, communicate that to Rose that we need more.
Good point.
Okay?
Thank you, sir. Is everybody?
Yes, that's a good idea. One current concern was with the urgency of all this opt-in, all these meetings. It just died, it's just died.
All right.
Joel, I believe, did we skip over the airport page, or did you,
We're still there.
Well, I did an update on the,
you did the STIP, did you want to talk about the construction projects as well real quick? Or do we want to?
I'm gonna skip it because we're running low on time.
Okay.
Got
That's fine, we can email that to them too.
I'll be here, I'll hang around a little while. If you want to update on your certificate projects, if you want to update on what's coming up in the future, I'm going to mention real briefly that we were successful in getting a federal transit grant for some additional parking ride lots in Division 14. This is something we've been working on for 3 years. They were very popular when we did the first round. We got 10 in the division, 6 are in this RPO's area, 1 in Cherokee County, 2 in Graham County, 2 in Jackson, and 2 in Swain. So we were excited about that, and we want to share some good news with you. So, but anyway, the rest of the information I'll just hang around if anybody wants any of it. I'll do it.
There you go.
So
Road,
I've
we're
got
gonna
that- I've
talk
got
about the
this-
spot 4.0.
Yes. I guess real quick, the main point, this is on the very last page of your agenda packet. Believe it or not, prioritization 4.0 is right around the corner, and our first, opportunity is, I guess, September of 2015 is when we will begin to, think about any new candidate projects that we want to submit. So I know we've already got a good list to work off of, but just wanted to remind y'all of that upcoming date.
And that's really 2016.
Right, it'll start into this year.
And that can be brand new or a resubmission of a project.
Right.
Well, a big concern for a lot of us is, as they begin working on the budget in Raleigh, well, it was our law week last week, is the secondary road maintenance month. What can we do as RPO to, I mean, all of our counties around this table, I mean, we're suffering, you know, if it's, luckily we've had a pretty, you know, as far as the winters go, it's not been a bad winter so far, but with no maintenance funds, it won't take long for a lot of our roads and all of our counties. So, who do we need to, can we do anything as a group? Would that help in that process? Or, I mean, but can you give us an update on where the maintenance funds are, or what are we doing?
Several things have happened to make maintenance funds very, very limited, probably the worst I've seen in my career. One, the new law, it gives us more construction projects, gives us a little less maintenance money. Two, the price of doing the business has gone up. And then we're all enjoying some real cheap gas right now, we like that. But the adjustment from the wholesale price of gas will go down next time they do it. They do it every 6 months, I think. And then there'll be another big hit. It just went up a penny as far as that was based off the prices last year. So they'll get a little bit of money, but I would say they'll try to bank some of it. The financial people in Raleigh will try to bank some of it because with the price of gas where it is right now and not expected to go back up anytime soon, I think our maintenance budgets are really going to get desperate. So my suggestion is continue to work with the General Assembly about how to fund transportation. This is an overarching philosophical problem. It's coming through gas taxes. And, you know,
And that's what we wanted to discuss. We met with Senator Ruccio, and he, of course, now we asked him flat out, would the legislature look at raising the gas tax again? And there's not going to be no new tax. We know that. So unless you make over $100 million a year, you might get a good tax break. But
an example,
other than that, you know,
an example of a trade-off is what Virginia did last year, where they reduced the gas tax, but bolstered it with some sales tax. And if you think about sales tax, everything you buy usually has been shipped in some form or fashion and has an impact on transportation. So that was seen as a compromise. Virginia's budget for transportation increased. The people that voted for it got to say they voted to cut gas tax, which was popular. But you know, it sounds like you cut the gas tax 3 cents a gallon, but raising sales tax a quarter cent. But the money is more. So you've got to look at this state is faced with some decision making. It's got to be the General Assembly. So talk to legislatures about the need and continue to see the need, and they'll have to work on it.
but in our area, especially in the far west, you know, with no maintenance to our roads, they'll deteriorate in a hurry. And then what's going to happen? Then you're looking, instead of doing a $5,000 fix on if the road's falling, you're looking at a $50,000 fix.
Yes.
So, and then that's the reason we're really worried is eventually they want to say we want to do a partnership with our county.
Can I, let me ask you a question. You mentioned the maintenance funds because of the reduced gas prices. Is there sales tax? Is the gas tax, which federal and state tax on per gallon, it's per gallon. Is there an additional sales tax per gallon on that? So the gallonage is actually going up because the fuel's cheaper, so people are buying more gallonages. So the state should be reaping more money from that same amount instead of less money. When the price of gas goes down, people use more gallonage because the gas, the overall price is cheaper. So the state's money on that fixed tax per gallon should go up, not down. It shouldn't be affected. The only thing that would make our state funds go down would be if people use less fuel and higher prices. So that doesn't, am I wrong about how it's funded?
Well, when the price has nosedived like it has,
Yeah.
the consumption won't outpace the difference in the.
Wait a minute, it's per gallon.
Right.
The taxes
The price going down doesn't drive the gallon usage down. I must be looking at this
The
right.
finance people that track it and a very big shortfall because I'm not the fellow that
Yeah.
sees the numbers.
Yeah, but I can't agree with that as far as the gallonage usage. I'm just wondering, like I say,
It's still the same amount of gallons. Our vehicles get the same amount of gallons, buy the same amount of gas.
who would I ask about that? Who would I find out?
I'll have to get our financial people in touch with
I'd like somebody to explain that.
Well, we need to hasten on so we can get on into the other meeting. I know y'all are all anxious. Do we have any public comment tonight? No public comment. Anything else we can talk about? We don't have any TAC member updates. This is our first meeting. We will be ready for our next meeting. We'll probably have a lot to talk about by then.
Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to say, all in favor, go in the next room. Thank you all.
Sorry, I had no.